been ages, man.
Yeah, it's so funny with the quarantine and all of that. It's just I was actually thinking about when's the last time we spoke, and it's oh that was I think a year ago. I was like, oh no, that's what 2018.
2 years
Yeah,
ago. 3 years ago. Oh my god. And
yeah,
even longer since we've seen each other, right? Uh,
yeah,
ridiculous amount of time.
yeah,
Where did it go?
yeah. I remember uh, back after my first year of uni, I I I came back and my dad picked me up from the airport and he said, I said, wow, this was fast. It's already 1 year down.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, yeah, wait until you get a job. Like, and you'll wake up one day and you're 40. And yeah, now I see it. No, he's right. Time just it's been 11 years since I've graduated high school now. It's
I
I've
could,
been outside of uni more like 2 years more than I've been inside. So it's just,
I graduated in 2005, my friend. 2000.
it's how the joke goes, someone says 1980s and you think, oh, that was 20 years ago. And it's actually no, it's been 40.
It's funny like that. This happens when you like I follow lots of music online, right? And it will say, "Oh, this album is now like 30 years old," and you think, "Oh, I still listen to that. I thought I just got that."
It was just that this week that Black Sabbath, the debut album, they
Uh-huh.
they shared that on Facebook and it was like 51 years old. 51. Wow, it's just damn.
Yeah, you realize, yeah, you're getting old fast, man. Yeah, is it work that does that? Is it work?
I'm not sure. I think
Or just
it's the maybe lack of after you graduate uni, there's like kind of lack of milestones. Really,
yeah, exactly that.
you don't really have you don't really have that compartmentalized thing where you okay that's school, that's 12 years and 4 years uni and you have something to look forward to and it's kind of and afterwards just yeah go into the wild and just do whatever you do and just make your own milestones and whatever's nobody really imposes that order on you. You have to kind of that's I think one of the kind of perks and then the responsibilities of adulthood is I think to keep up that thing going where you have to kind of improve or do something.
Yeah, no one like expects. So at some point, people don't expect anything from you. Yeah, you finish uni, and yeah, like? Where's your next? You have to impose your own milestone, and if you
Yeah,
don't, then like you're just in the ether, like you say, you just drift. And how are you meant to impose your own milestones? Like, what do you say? Like
it's
most people, it's like I'm gonna have children, I'm gonna get a house, it's like some financial material thing. Um, but then I've heard some people say like I want to have children by the time I'm 30 or by the time I'm da 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 I will have house. But then and then what do you do? Okay, you have those things and that's what do you do after that? Is it career thing, a career milestone or the raise or doesn't feel the same
probably
though.
some, but I think that's a lot of especially like academically minded people that I meet because in my area of work, you do have a lot of like mathematicians and computer scientists and whatnot, and you do see that struggle to see things, and they want that in a job
Mm,
environment as well because they've been because some PhD students that I meet they basically were good students in school. So they went to said, "Oh, you're good in math. Go study math in uni." They did their bachelor's. You're good. Go do masters. Then go do a PhD. And then if they don't get a job in academia, they you go to a work environment because they offer you some money or something.
mm.
And that changes really fast because there's no said okay after 3 years you'll get a promotion, my friend, or this happens and this happens, and they kind of you can see that wow, I need some feedback, I need some structure, I need something to do. uh yeah, that happens, but yeah, as you said, it's kind of hard because especially like everything also that you said is kind of arbitrary, and and even kind of dangerous sometimes. Because for me as well, I had that similar mindset going into my, I'll be, because I want to do investment banking, and I've read somewhere that, okay, after uni, you go be an analyst for 3 years, then you do your MBA, then you're an associate, and this kind of steps. And after that didn't work out, I was kind of, whoa, what do I do?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What do I do now? What's because that clearly doesn't work, and then your entire kind of plan, life goals, and whatnot just goes to shit. And
I remember
what do you do?
freaking out about this at school. Like I remember, school is approaching its impending end, and then uh, it's like, what are you going to do after school? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then I'm like, okay, I'll just go to college so I don't have to answer that question. Then what are you going to do after college? Oh shit, I'll just go to uni so I don't have to answer that question. And then, but then you can't put that off forever, right? You like, but there's no way you can prepare yourself for like, yeah, if then after uni, I did the same thing. I got a job which was related to uni, but then that job didn't work out either. And then I'm like, oh, that was the only step that I knew I had. And then you got to design your own life suddenly. It's like you're still a kid,
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like looking back into my cohort of graduates, how diverse everyone is after I think one person works in finance.
Yeah.
Everyone else has either small business, but also these businesses are diverse. One guy runs a kind of 3D cinema thing. Then another girl has her own flower shop. Then another girl just said, "Screw it." She went to be a stewardess for the Emirates Airlines,
Uh-huh.
and you just look at everyone and just, whoa, Well, you remember someone from uni who studied philosophy or something, and oh, he's now a programmer.
Wow.
And that's the thing. It's really interesting, and looking back into my education as well, I think a lot of and in education in general, when you think about it, how are you supposed to know what you want to do?
You, you, you
Like,
just meant to have a feeling, or did you do what
yeah,
your
and
parents did, or?
yeah, that's the thing. And even in my case, right, my job that I'm doing now didn't really exist when I was entering university.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe it existed at some form, but definitely not the one that it's currently at.
Uh-huh.
And how do you prepare for that?
So even what you're studying had no obvious path to
Yeah,
where you are now.
exactly.
So
So
wait, you got to a place where you had to like choose again. You had
yeah.
to where did you land then? Did you like try and go back to what you'd studied and follow that, or?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was always kind of had an affinity to numbers, and uh, this new field called data science was popping up, and my couple of my friends were doing it. So I was like, okay, finance does not work. I don't have the mentality for it. I'm way too passive a person, and I like tinkering with stuff
Uh-huh.
more than I like kind of achieve goals and always like one upping everyone. Like, okay, what can I do? Right. Okay, I have this kind of statistics background. I have some technical knowledge, but you go there, you read about it. It seems interesting, and I kind of pursue that a bit. Then you learn more about it. You learn about the different branches of it, and then I changed my profession in the past 5 years like 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a brand analyst where basically I was taking and searching for counterfeit and copyright infringements. I
Mm-hmm.
was a reporting specialist where my job was like kind of reporting, like data reporting, and then I was a data analyst where I just analyzed data and just gave insights. And then I did some advanced modeling where that's kind of data scientist, if you will. And then now I'm a data engineer, which is just kind of creating all the architecture around all the data pipelines, and it's all inside kind of this one field, I think, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very different things you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's one good thing is that it was pretty new. So well, they didn't. No one really expected you to have a lot of experience or a degree because just recently people are offering degrees, like universities are offering degrees in this field. So that was very lucky to be kind of on the ground floor.
Mhm.
So I got to try out and just I landed on what works for me because that data engineering part, kind of that creating the infrastructure and just tinkering, that really kind of speaks to me because it's very theoretical, but it's very practical at the same time. And you get to build things and you see them work. And that's really my what really kind of I love it. And now I'm doing it.
Ah, you said the L word.
Yeah.
Ah, that means you're I was going to ask you, you think you're in the right place right now, kind of feeling.
Um
If you love it, then maybe beyond all kind of fear and there's something fundamental you love about what you do now, even if you don't
definitely.
love all of it. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely I don't love all of it, but when I don't know, when I think about what I'm doing and uh there's always been this kind of dream of mine to be in mathematics and academia. I always have that romantic vision of, sitting pondering big ideas. But I just realized that for me as a person, I wouldn't be able to do that for a very long time. I need to see something work and be practically implemented and just
Mm.
have that. And I think it would, as with finance, you just realize that what kind of person you are and just something just won't work for you. And for me, what kind of person I am, I like solving problems. I like being helpful with all things. And yeah, that job gives me a way to do that, to help kind of immediately uh, people and see results immediately and see how they work. And, okay, this does this, so we can cut down on times of this, and you can kind of see that result and you see that what you've done makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also in that particular sphere of coding where this is what I've made up in my mind. I just wrote some logic out
Hmm.
and this is happening because I thought about it.
So it's creative.
Yeah, it is. I think
Mm.
a lot of people don't realize how creative coding is. It's yeah,
You're bringing
because
something to life, right?
yeah, it's basically like it's a novel written in logic. When you see that code, if you don't understand, you don't know coding, and you see the weird symbols and weird words and why is this, it looks gibberish.
Mm.
But once you understand how the kind of the entire thing flows, you need to kind of, in terms of coding, that understanding the language is the easy part. It's very simple to do, but then you have to think about the design. Okay, how is this going to go from here to there? If this changes, what happens if this changes? So
Mm.
how is it, what's the best way of doing this?
Hmm.
What is the most kind of, and you try to do that and you run into problems a lot.
Mm.
You, if you're not hitting bugs, you're probably not doing anything important or new, and it's probably already done and you can download it. So you have to think about ways of trying to create new solutions, and that's pretty much, you have a blank screen and your keyboard and you have to create these complex systems out of nothing, pretty much.
So it sounds like you've like from going, yeah, like we are saying, like you at school and college, uni, not sure what's your thing, and then
Yeah,
over the few years, you just kind of like I don't know, whittled it down to like
yeah,
closer, 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 and then but like I hear you talking, it sounds like you know yourself. Like I know that I'm this kind
yeah.
of thinker. I know this. And that kind of stuff, like you can't get unless you have a few years, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Unless
I
you're some
think,
kind of lucky person who just intuitively, "Oh, I love this thing.
yeah, I think it's very hard. I mean, these things, there's so many things in your world, and I'm thinking, how did I not do any of it in school? Because it looks interesting. It looks something like I would be interested in.
Mm,
And you realize how much it depends on where you nobody in my school did that, or maybe if someone did, they kept it to themselves. And nobody in my family does that. So you don't even know what you don't know. You don't even
Yeah.
know that it exists. You don't know that it's a possible thing to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of my classmates and what everyone's doing, law, economics, because that's kind of this umbrella term for something. You think, oh, that's gonna give me a good job, I think. But then they go to that, and it changes. Like one of my friends from high school, I was dead set on studying economics, and he was dead set on studying law, and we were joking about, oh, we're going to make a consultancy together later down the line. And now we've met recently, and I'm a data engineer and he's a TV producer. And we never really even kind of thought about it, of ever doing it, and now we're doing it. And we take that as our careers and a kind of life's calling. Maybe not as dramatic as life's calling, but and I actually read somewhere, I was reading this book. It says, so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
That kind of follow your passion is a pretty bad advice. It works for some people, it truly does, but
Mm.
for others it's really not. Because if you just jump off a cliff following your passion, you might find out that that passion is not really your passion at all. If you haven't tried it, if you use it, say you're a yoga instructor, and then maybe part-time yoga instructor, and you just love it so much, so you're going to go build something. But if you're just practicing yoga and say, okay, it's my passion, I like it, so I'm going to just quit my job, start a yoga studio, probably not a good idea. Try it out, small steps, because they gave an example of this very it was similar to what I spoke about academics. There was this girl who's quite good at school, so she went to study biology.
Mm-hmm.
After that, she kind of, she's studying, while studying biology, she ran into some concepts of kind of viruses. So she thought, oh well, I'll do my master's in viruses. And then she did her master's and she learned more about it, and then she started doing her PhD on something. And then in that process she kind of developed this, I'm not sure what kind of virus or disease that was ravaging Africa at that moment, or is this some curable one that nobody was really paying attention to? And she made it her life's work and her passion to study that disease and to think about these things. But that didn't come from one in high school. She realized, oh, I want to cure that disease and this is
Yeah.
my life's purpose. That came from, once you reach, some edge of knowledge of someone else, then you try to kind of carve out your own piece, and because you care about it so much, and you try to make it your own. Whereas if you just think, oh, I'll go fix some disease, probably not going to work.
I guess you
Yeah,
kind of have to use your radar to get close to the area that you. It's very hard to define your passion exactly. Is that what you're saying? Like, it
yeah,
might be, you can't just say my passion is yoga. It I guess everyone who is we talk about like being a specialist at something, like
yeah,
within your passion is a specialty that only perhaps you are able to bring out to the world. Like hers is a good example, like field of medicine, of biological research, but within that she found her focus. But she had to be in the right direction. She wasn't like riding horses or practicing yoga or surfing. She was like in the
I
right
think,
place.
yeah, I think, passion is as it is. If you want to call something a passion, you have to have skin in the game already. You have to have touched it and tried it, and you can't just say it's something my passion if you haven't really attempted to do something new with it
But you could say
and
that
do
something like,
something.
but like grabs your attention all the time, because there's another part of this that, okay, some people are doing one job, but they might have something nagging them all the time. Is that sometimes a passion can be not actualized yet. um
Yeah,
like you're kind of lucky
yeah,
you
but
got into
that's the
this
thing.
this numbers game.
Yeah,
um but is there something else in your head that kind of nagged you at any point in your life, that you might have a passion somewhere
it,
else?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I've always, as I said, maths really something that I've really been into. Uh,
Mm.
Reading and writing. I was trying to write, but then this is how pretty much, I know that's not really my passion
How
because it's
come?
not like it doesn't consume me, and it
Uh,
doesn't. I don't wake up thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna write something now." And when I have to write something,
mm,
it's I have to kind of make myself write something.
yeah.
Whereas with code, if someone says something that's interesting, new technology, someone says about some way of doing it, I will probably stay up and just try it out, see what's going on. That's interesting for me. Because I think, yeah, if you just say that something's your passion without having tried it, it's, you know, because I thought writing was one of my passions because I love reading, I love stories. I would love to make them, but once you arrive at that, blank screen or that blank paper, it just doesn't come out, and you feel like you don't really want to do it.
Uh,
And yeah, so yeah, having would quitting my job to be a writer would be a pretty bad idea. I think.
but then you did say the L word quite a few times in that, like, so there is kind of this maybe a romance to it, like another lifetime. In Simus's other life, you can imagine living as writer in the woods or something, and so there's like two parts of you, or maybe something that you could feed later, you know.
I don't know. It's something you think you'd want to do.
Hmm.
It's kind of, but that's pretty much what I've alluding to when you said, and I said you have to have skin in the game. If you want to kind of declare something as your true passion, you have to have been there with
Yeah.
it, with everything good and everything bad that comes. You can't just go, oh yeah, I would love to be a musician, because I love touring and then love to perform in big stadiums. But if people said, okay, but you'll have to spend years performing for 15 people in a bar, and they're
Yeah.
not really listening to you before you make it, would you wake up and you go there and still
Yeah.
do it every day? And if you say no, I don't think that's really the passion. I think that the fruits, the benefits, and the kind of rewards of doing things is what you crave, but it's not really what you want to do. That's not really you know what your passion is. You just would like that reward.
It's kind of
Mm.
like the obsession then, like if you're like you're saying, you're obsessed with numbers, like naturally obsessed with numbers, and like if you're sitting in front of that piece of paper imagining being a writer but nothing's coming out, or it's hard, it's well not hard, but it just it's not instinctive, or it doesn't just flow out, or you but then you go back to coding and it will just like just grab you, and you can be obsessive about it, and yeah, with no sort of sense of yeah, reward, or you're sort of doing it without. Yeah, it's funny how we were talking about milestones earlier, but when you're obsessed with something, you don't really think of the milestones, and actually you might not even notice them happen. Like you don't, when you're so obsessed with something, you don't notice when you're getting better. Like talk about the musician that first playing to 10 people, like they're not
Yeah,
probably even thinking or caring that they don't notice that moment they're in, or they I notice when I hear famous musicians talk about, you know, when their career gets really big, they don't even notice the shift. It's just, oh, suddenly I'm playing Wembley Stadium, but I didn't even see it happen because they were just in the moment, because it's just
yeah,
natural obsession, right?
yeah. That's the thing. Nowadays, with I think I saw some documentary about Billie Eilish as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how she said that something. Yeah, she was just doing some songs for SoundCloud to play in her uh, dance class, and she's
Uh-huh.
been doing that for a long time because that was her kind of passion, and she never really thought about it. And just overnight, millions of listens and this fame, and I think, yeah, that's why you do it. You don't do it because it's a reward. There's a
Yeah.
reward for you. You do it because you're naturally drawn to it.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
luckily for Billie Eilish, she got lots of
Yeah, that's and
lots of
of course,
reward.
Yeah, of course. I think plenty of people who have genuine passions that don't really get to see those. That's where luck comes in, I think.
Yeah, but you could say the
Yeah,
reward is knowing your passion, right?
yeah.
And just because when you're doing that, there's kind of a natural fulfillment in it. At least that's what I tell myself about music, because I'm not playing the same stadiums as Billie Eilish.
Early days, my friend.
But it is an obsession, and it's a bit of a torturous one for me, because in some ways I notice that music is my obsession in the way that I'll naturally just pour time into it with
Hmm.
disregard for everything else. And it's just always been that way, like since I was a kid, just connected to that. But then I've had that, the way it's torturous is that, yes, I can't find a way to make that passion into a job. So I'm left in this kind of dualistic lifestyle where I have to find something that fills my time and gives me financial support, and then feed that passion at the same time. But I kind of got to a nice level with it. But for years, I struggled with like, oh, damn, why's my passion got to be music? Can't it be something useful, like what you
And
do,
I
for
think,
example?
well, they are really. It's not as great. You have the parts of your job where you love, and then the parts you don't love as much.
True.
But I really like this. This I know this one girl, and from back in my hometown, and she's one of these kind of musicians that she played in a lot of like events in our school, and she never really did break through. Like she tried some talent competitions, like the X Factor ish
Oh yeah.
things, and she never really got any break. 'Cause I don't think she was that great. Honestly, I'm obviously no judge. I can't really judge, but you know, but she kept singing in like a lot of like smaller events and whatnot. And if I'm not mistaken, she's still doing that. And so I think that's kind of an expression of passion where you do it, and she probably knows by now that she's not going to be big,
Hmm.
and in her case she's not even going to be medium, I think. But she still does it, and she does because she loves it,
It's
and I
just
think
for her. Yeah, it's just for her.
yeah,
Yeah, and
but it
it's
is a tricky thing because if you at some point I think you have to say what's that passion really kind of worth to me, how much of it is, because if you start neglecting other things when it's not working, then maybe time to reconsider,
but
which is a
then
sad thought. But
it is sad, like to not do your passion. I guess you've been in this situation, I'm guessing, from these other jobs where you're getting closer to your place you are now, closer to like knowing what you want to do. There's that time where you're not feeding your passion, right? And there's something, there's that missing feeling. Like if I don't feed my music for ages, I feel like, yeah, like I'm not myself, or I'm missing something. It's like I'm not living at all, even if I'm like, relationships are good and job is lovely and everything is harmonious, but if I'm not feeding that thing, then yeah, it's not, I can't be balanced. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't make money or not. It's just I got to this nice place now where I kind of like am when I was a kid, when I just picked up the guitar as a kid. Like I didn't know what a music career was. I just, this instrument was like fascinating thing, and I played it, and it's just like that. And if it's only that as I grew older, I kind of started putting expectation on myself. But actually, when it comes down to the person and the instrument, it's just what you're creating in that moment, and then yeah, that's the way to be at peace with it. But yeah, if I don't feed that, um, it's an ugly thing, and I wonder if you felt the same, that sort of that missing feeling, you know.
oh, definitely. I remember when I was kind of getting into that field, but I was working as a reporting specialist, so I didn't do any coding. I did pretty much customer support job.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start, you see people around you doing those things, and you just start. like you'd rather just go do that or listen to that, and
Hmm.
or even in your own job. Like I had moments where I was put on projects that were really not the kind of projects I should be working on, and you just feel that craving that I want to do something. So you kind of go back home and then just put everything down and just work on some project of your
Mm.
own, just to touch it at least once a day, and have something, just to feed it a bit, because if you don't, you just feel like you can't concentrate that
Hmm.
well.
It sounds
and,
kind of
and
easy. Like, why don't there's always this conversation in culture, like find your true calling, and what is your thing you're meant to do. I think actually, if everyone, I have a theory that everyone does know what their true thing is, because it's the thing that, like you said, you go home and you can't help but do.
um, I don't know, actually. I've met a lot of people. I don't know their passions, but
Ah.
some people just have those, I think, things where maybe there's something they would rather do than what they're doing right now, but it's just what they kind of, in them, it's their job to do something,
Mm.
and they don't really mind not doing what they love doing. It's just, so for instance, like I have a friend who's also, he never really was passionate about anything. When you talk to him about something, you don't have that conversation where his eyes just flare up and he
Right.
just can't stop talking about it. And he's just like, oh yes, I'll talk, and you have to kind of, okay, let's talk about something else or something. He never really had that inside, but whatever he did really well. Like he
Right.
tried it, because I think in his mind is like, it doesn't matter that I will just do something. Whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do it right. And he kind of became like this businessman, and he's kind of walked in, rose in the ranks, and he's now a vice president of a company, and he's very successful. But I don't think it's his passion to do that.
Mm.
But then again, that's one of the, I kind of envy him, because at those moments where you're put onto some work where you don't want to work, and just, I would much rather have that, have that craving of, I want to do something else. But and you may even kind of slack and just not take it too seriously, the other thing, where he's just very consistent. Okay, whatever I'm doing, just do good, 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 good. Maybe not everything incredible, and
Mm.
something that your passion would drive you to strive, to go that extra mile. But everything's just good, just consistently good. Whereas me, if I don't like something, it's just gonna dip in
Yeah.
quality, and if I love something, it's just gonna go beyond. Uh, but yeah, I think at the end, with him as well, once you once you arrive at that certain point, and that once you have that kind of capital of knowledge, of experience, then it sort of becomes also a passion of sorts, where your job is just being a professional, just performing well. That's what you want to do. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what you do. It's just, I'll just perform well everywhere, and I'll just deliver.
Right.
This is who I am as a person. I'm a person who delivers. And yeah, and yeah, I hope he found something and he gets satisfaction out of it. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but
Maybe that's it. That's a good way. Like, I am just a professional human. I do the best I can wherever I am, and I guess you get a drive from that, or self validation from that. Like, I think what you and I are talking about is yeah, specializing in something, and to me, that's all I understand. I can't imagine being in that place where it's not my thing, and my eyes don't light up about it, and still giving it all of that, because I've tried that a few times. I've done a bunch of mini careers. Like, I was a chef for a while. That was a good example, and I thought it was like trying it out. Like, I seem to be interested in this. I got in it,
mm,
and I realized, yeah, I did. I started being this professional, working hard, just doing the best I could, and then at some point I realized, no, it's not my passion. And then the energy went down. I gave it less and less, and then I just turned up for the money eventually.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
I met chefs who were, you know, life chefs, and they really were passionate. The kind of guys who were on Instagram looking at pictures of food, and I realized at some point, oh no, I'm not that guy, and I'm in this job, and I can't do it. I can't. I need to seem to specialize in this one thing. But yeah, I kind of envy this friend as well, who could just excel at anywhere that he
Yeah,
was. At least
yeah,
I
that
hope he's happy.
yeah, me too. But yeah, I always kind of envy these people because even in school, I was like, if it's a subject I do not like
Mm,
even if you know that you have to do well, even if you know you have to get good grades to get into uni, you just can't make yourself do it. I don't want to do it. I'll just rather doodle with numbers in the back.
uh-huh.
Uh, and yeah, it's that to have that kind of focus and dedication is, I think, to deliver at anything you do is very it's very admirable, and I'd love to achieve that. And actually, I've been trying to do that recently.
Yeah.
Uh, to Yeah, because I've been reading a few books about what actually a professional looks like,
Okay.
and I think it's a great. It was kind of programmer specific, but I think it's a good advice about what they said about being a professional is not being good at a job. It's a mindset that you come in with
Mm,
to a job. It's not really like, oh, I've you hired him to be like an engineer, so he's now a professional. No, you arrive already being a professional or not. Basically, yeah, you have those standards where you will not deliver bad work. It doesn't matter if they say we'll sack you, just make something bad. You say no, I will not do that,
mm,
and you kind of have that. A professional's mindset is that one of the that I will do good job, I will make good products, I will whatever you do, I
mm.
will kind of do it properly because these are my standards as a professional, and if you do not like them, I will go somewhere else.
It's like a attitude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Coming in the front door with that attitude that, yeah, you will deliver the best you possibly can, kind of not dependent on anything personal in terms of emotion. Like you've got no emotional judgment on the job except that you will do it
also
well.
yeah, and also you won't accept any pressures to do otherwise,
Mm,
to do bad work, because in except especially in our profession, there are kind of a lot of temptations to have a kind of a shortcut, and maybe
uh,
we'll change that later. And there's even a saying, there's nothing more permanent than temporary code. You'll say, I'll just fix it later, and then it just never gets fixed.
right.
So in your mind as a professional, I don't do shortcuts, I don't do temporary things, I don't, and it doesn't matter. And I had that one experience, and I thought back on this, my boss back in the university coffee shop that I worked in. Some people came in, and they asked for iced coffee, and you know how clients always write, and or there are people who will just sell you whatever, it's sales a sale, like that's that's more money for me. And someone asked for an iced cappuccino. He says we don't do those, we do ice lattes because the making is a bit different, and we have this cold brew
Uh-huh.
that we do. We don't put just ice cubes in the coffee because it makes the coffee sour. Uh, and say, oh, I don't mind, just do it. And he goes, no, I won't do it. And he goes, oh, I'll pay you, just give me a cappuccino, put some ice cubes in. And I said, no, I won't do that. This is
Wow.
not how it's supposed to be. And I remember that I looked at that and was like, yeah, I admire that. I like that. You have your standards and you have your principles that you will not do bad job. It's
Mm,
not because and I think that's kind of, it was his passion. Coffee was his passion also because he handpicked the beans and he was really into it. And I think having those principles where you will not break them, you don't care. I
right.
will not break these principles. I will not you know debase the coffee with just ice cubes or something. I will not deliver something I feel strongly against. It
Mm,
doesn't matter if it's going to cost me a sale, but I will not do it. And in my job, it doesn't matter if maybe it will cost me a job, but I will not deliver bad products.
Yeah.
and
You,
and and whatever you do, I think that set of principles that guide you is very admirable, and I think a sign of professional, but also passion. uh, Going back to that maybe.
it's like that coffee thing. You could say that, yeah, he's serving his, the passion is definitely for the coffee. Obviously, the customer feels left, disregarded, maybe their opinion. You could say that in that moment his passion isn't to please that person, but then in a roundabout way, if you step back and say, okay, if his passion is coffee and he wants to give that person the nicest coffee possible, then yeah, the principle is to, like, he is trying to please that person really deep down by giving them a good drink and not something he believes is bad. So I could see that point of view, and yeah, I can also see how it's really difficult to have that standard as well. Yeah, many things a lot of the time are attempting to, getting us to take shortcuts, and yeah, just emotional state as well, depending where you're at in life. If it's, yeah, if you recognize on some level that it's not the job you want to be doing right now, but just to show up and do the best that you can do in that position.
Yeah.
That's what you owe to the thing you're doing. I don't understand why someone does a half-assed job in anything they are in. You can not want to work in that place, and then you could be making plans to get out. But while you're there, yeah, you're not
You
doing
might.
yourself the best service by doing your best. Yeah.
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 And actually, like, if we think about it, that's one thing I thought about in terms of these, kind of goals, and not goals, but those kind of milestones that we have when we're kids. And now, when you grow up, I think those, for me at least, it's no longer in I'm no longer thinking in the sense of like milestones, but principles by which to kind of to live by. It's
Hmm.
no longer, I have to reach that goal. It's more how I'm going to reach every single, how I'm going to approach everything. And you set a principle for yourself, and
Yeah.
they can be different, and in terms of maybe professionalism, and or personal relationships, or other things, and you live by that philosophy of yours, and
Hmm.
that's how you kind of keep track how you're doing,
Yeah, and
at
they're
least for
completely
me.
individual. It's like we were saying at start. Yeah, there's milestones that you're set are quite rigid and like obvious. They're kind of mostly material and based on time. But how can you say uh, my milestone is to be a professional? That's kind of a that's a great personal milestone to have. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of work to get to that on many different levels, and also the idea of, oh, my milestone is to find my passion, my obsession within my passion, and that again like takes years of going through the wrong job. And so yeah, I guess if you're, what does that take, kind of a consciousness to set your own milestones at some point. But yeah, those are far
Yeah.
more intricate and important than just passing maths GCSE.
Yeah, definitely. And also like sticking to them.
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know, at least in my personal experience, I've had these kind of a few moments of my life where I kind of was at a crossroad, basically, where something happened and I need to rethink what I'm going to do.
uh,
Uh, and it was even in my own field where I was fired from a job, and they literally told me maybe you should look for a job in another area because you clearly don't you're not cut out for this.
wow.
And
Uh-huh.
you gotta think up to yourself, maybe they're right, and there's a lot of questions that arise from that, and you you don't but for me it was less of, okay, I need to have that job, and then by the time I'm 30 I need to be a senior and then have a wife. Or for me personally it was, okay, I have these principles that I believe in. I think this is the right way of doing things,
Hmm.
and I will adhere to those principles. And every time I was at that crossroad, I was thinking, what am I going to do? And those principles guided me. For me was I love what I do. I love that area, and obviously, if I did not perform well at that job, I I don't I kind of objected them firing me in that fashion, but if it was me, I wouldn't have hired me in the first place.
Right.
To be honest, yeah, and you kind of understand that, and you kind of go, okay, I will not have another, like, my milestone will be to do a good job, to learn as much, and then to kind of pursue that career. It's kind of that principle, like to pursue that thing that I want to pursue, because this is the principle that guides me,
Mm.
that I like this thing, and I will try as much as hard as I can. But it wasn't okay. I'll get the data engineer job in the next year, and it took like another 3 years, I think, to get it. But those principles kind of guided me, and you use them in your work, and you use them in personal life, and I think that really helps me as an adult to keep track and keep doing what I'm doing, and not to be swayed by anyone's other's expectation, which everyone gets, of
Yeah.
family trying, when's the grandchildren coming, where's why aren't you buying a house, why don't you have a car? It's just, you go, is that compatible? Is that what I want to do? Is that what I'm about?
Yeah.
What kind of person I am? Then yeah, and I think that works. But
That's
it's
great.
hard. It's hard, I think, to keep those principles, and but
There's so much
also it kind
pressure.
of gives
Yeah.
you yeah. But also, kind of, once you do that, it kind of gives you a good yardstick to kind of sift through people. If
Uh-huh.
that's if I don't know, I kind of feel like if someone lives without any principle, or just flip flops around, I'm not saying they're a bad person, but there's some introspection that there has to occur, where people need to really think about who they are, and then you know because for me, yeah, also I was very kind of ambitious in the beginning, and then thought, yeah, and that brought me a lot of grief and
Hmm.
disappointment when something didn't go well. And then you kind of go inside of you, and you kind of rip out those superficial things. You go, okay, I'll probably not be a millionaire. It's probably not gonna happen. Will not have a PhD, because the way the life is, it's not gonna happen. Uh, and similar things. But then you kind of get yourself down to these atomic parts, where you get to a truth that you hold most dear,
Hmm.
and you realize that you will not give this up. So I gave up trying to become a millionaire. I gave up dreaming about being a PhD in mathematics. I just you realize it's not really what you want and what you do, and then you're left with these core kind of pillars of who you are and what you hold true to be true,
Mm.
and then you kind of act in accordance to them. So for me, I said, yeah, I will not be a PhD in mathematics, but I still love mathematics, and I can do I can study that after work when I'm free. In the field that I'm at, it's kind of in the same area, and it still gives me exposure, and I love it. And there's an option for me, a realistic option to do that.
Hmm.
So that's good. And in terms of kind of, yeah, because education, as I said, was important for me, and I thought, yeah, I love education and educating myself, and it's yeah.
That's quite beautiful. Like a few things you said, like getting yourself down to. Have we frozen again? No, not at this place. Uh, mm, yeah.
There we go.
Ah, that's lucky. I didn't want to lose what you just said. It was so cool. Let's see if the internet kicks in. But like, yeah, well, firstly, like getting down to your atomic parts was a nice way to
Yeah.
put it. And then also like people who don't do that self-actualizing, and there is something that they're not serving their best selves at the end of the day. And it's kind of tricky to be around someone who's not serving themselves well, because they always want something else, or they're the kind of people who put expectation on you, in some kind of twisted way. And when you know where your own principles lie, those expectations can't touch you anymore. But
Yeah.
it is hard to it's hard to constantly, you know, be surrounded by other people's expectations, society's expectation, and get down to, like you say, atomic part, and just quiet down all the noise from expectation, and listen to what you really want. Is, you know, and all these things like being a millionaire, or PhD educated, like these are values that society holds so highly, but you can beat yourself up thinking, why wouldn't I want this value? But then, yeah, at some point it's almost quite scary realizing that, oh god, no, I don't want to be a millionaire. It's liberating and strange at the same time. That's not
It
me.
does. Yeah, it is, because you kind of get that. Uh, I think it stems also from the society's expectations. Because for me, also, I had this kind of realization where I was kind of afraid, and maybe a bit disappointed in myself, that where you realize I'm not competitive. I am not a competitive person. I do
Hmm.
not care if I beat someone. I want to become better, say, at chess.
Hmm.
I want to be a better coder. I want to be better in maths, but I don't want to rank somewhere higher. I don't
Hmm.
care. And when you grow up, and you kind of look at those examples of people you maybe a role model, and or you read some guides about how to get into this area, or what kind of person, and A and B personalities, nonsense like that. And you think about, oh, these people are competitive, and then that's where their drive is. And you think, well, if I'm not competitive, does that mean I'm not going to achieve something?
Yeah.
And yeah, you do. Like, as you said, like, I don't want to be like, I would love to be a millionaire, but am I gonna really like forego my leisure time, my leisure reading, my jogs, my passions, to kind of just get the most amount of money that I can?
Mm.
I won't do that. And that, also kind of, and you think about, what does that say about me? And you kind of feel a bit, maybe kind of scared, because, oh, maybe I'm not ambitious, or
Yeah. You're putting
you
like
think,
label on yourself there, though. You know, that's not really, yeah, your atomic part. That's just like, that fear only comes from, again, like, you may have like defined your principles, but still the expectation invites you to be scared constantly. So it is kind of like holding yourself true to those principles, no matter what is, like, that could be a life's work, I think. And to reaffirm those principles as much as possible is by living as close towards them as possible. And I think when you've got to a place where you really define your principles, and then when you got to that, you're that kind of person, you can also tell when they're starting to slip as well,
yeah,
because there's so much value in actually getting towards them. It takes so much work and time, and silence and self-belief, uh, but yeah, they're constantly eroded. But yeah, life's work to keep them strong, and believe in yourself above
yeah.
everything else.
And I think in the long run, you only benefit from doing that, because you're never going to war against yourself. You're never having that internal dialogue where you feel the shame of doing something. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, I made plenty of mistakes in my life. I made bad decisions. I was lazy where I shouldn't have been lazy. I did bad job at some points, but I don't know. For me, I go to bed and I sleep very well. I don't. I've never, you know, been ashamed of myself of what I've did.
Great.
That's and that you can't really buy that, I think. And I've missed on out on opportunities that people, for a good time or something, or like say you stay to help a friend instead of going to a party,
Hmm.
but you never really, I never really regretted it. I don't know. I just it's who you are,
It's
and
your
you don't.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think what I'm thinking is that it's your principles, that living by your principles is the thing that helps you sleep that not helps you, is allows you to sleep well at night. Like
yeah.
if I've had a day when I'm living someone drilling in the wall next door, that's shitty timing. Can you hear
Well,
that?
yeah, get quite late for maintenance.
That's loud. I hope that stops. It's gonna test my editing skills if I put this together. God damn it.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec. Like, if it's next door, I might knock on the door and say, "Can you
Yeah,
stop
that's
doing that insane drilling?"
peculiar timing.
Yeah, yeah.
Seems to have stopped.
I hope so. Usually, this is a nice, quiet spot. It's the worst noise possible. Yeah, that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, living by your principles, like, yeah, keeps you. Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, when I've had a day and I've I've tried, or I have felt like I've lived close, and it feels great going to bed like that. You know, you've put effort towards your, not even your goal, but you've spent time aligned with your passion and principle, and yeah, it's great, great
and
feeling.
also helps ward off regret as
Yeah.
well. I think because I have these kind of small dreams. I call it. I give as an example a rock star dream. I'd love. Sometimes when you watch Metallica play and you're just like, oh, I wish I could shred like that, and I'd be on that stage, in front of thousands of people, everyone's cheering, and
Yeah.
but then you realize, am I gonna pick up a guitar and try? I'm not gonna, because it's just not me.
Mm.
And if and or going to some party, and the FOMO effect of seeing people on Instagram, and then
Hmm.
oh, I'm at this party with like 10 friends, and you think to yourself, oh wow, this looks really fun, but then you remember, as a person, I don't like crowds. I like being with a few close friends in a quiet place. And
Mm.
even if I was there, I wouldn't be enjoying it. I'd be awkward. I'd be sitting in the corner, trying to read something on my phone, or
Yeah.
just be a bore to everyone else. So, I don't regret missing that out, missing out
Yeah.
on that. It's whatever.
Yeah. You only
That's not
regret
me.
regret not living by something you know is your principle.
Yeah, there are some things where I think at my age of 10 to 30, almost 30,
So young.
I'm beginning to arrive at that point where I'm not, I don't understand what the kids are doing. Why is this popular? I have zero clue. Why is it happening? And I don't know. I think a lot of people are afraid of that, but I am so glad. I've been waiting it for this moment for so long, to be excused. There's no expectation for me to know
Yeah.
anything new. I don't need to know about TikTok. I don't need to know what dancing is popular there.
Uh huh.
I'm just a 30-year-old engineer, just doing his job, just grunting away at his work desk, and nobody expecting it to be fun. And that is so liberating. I love it so much.
You sound like, and I mean this as compliment, like old man. Like I mean that as compliment. Like you don't have to care about what society is doing or what
Yeah,
because like that, at least for me, being young wasn't a nice time. All that time of feeling like, oh, I should be into this because that person's into this and I should act this way, or I should get this tattoo, or whatever it is to make me feel like I fit in a bit more. It's torturous. Like just guessing your way through life, just refining your own value takes, ages that I don't want to be young again. And so I kind of disregard all those kids who are just like consuming and drifting and thinking they've got their shit together, but I know they haven't yet. And we can sit there and go, oh, good, yeah, good luck. Well, let's have a chat when you're, you know,
Yeah.
when you work it out.
Oh yeah, me too. I was never young. I was never mentally. Yeah, I did stupid things, plenty of stupid things,
Uh,
but I was never young. I was always the let's make sure everything's safe and sound, and I was the one walking around the party just turning off the stove and just no, that's a
uh,
fire hazard. Can't do that. Don't do that. Uh, yeah, and now my 30s, I think I'm still young enough, so my body's kind of agile, and
uh,
I'm still have my hair, and but
yeah,
at that point, at some point you stop being the young man, the promising young man
yeah,
in your life, and then people just leave you to your own device, and then that's on you now. Everything's bye bye.
it's
Like
quite
now the
nice.
young one, yeah, and to some I think it's kind of they feel they don't really know what to do, but for me it's like finally I can just do me, and I don't need
Yeah,
to. There's no pressure now.
yeah,
I don't drink, so I won't drink. If someone says, "Come on, let's be fun," and you can look at them kind of strangely, and if they're your age, they kind of start getting it. Like, oh, okay, yeah,
so when you meet someone who follows their own principle as well, like it's like so like liberating. You're not like looking for
yeah,
someone who's just after distraction or looking to just chasing down 100 other ideals that trying to define themselves. When you found someone who's at peace with themselves, they're just doing them. You're like, oh,
yeah. And you know what's brilliant about meeting these people is that if a person really thought about what their principles are, and they have their own worldview, and they kind of can not just say, "Oh, everyone else is doing it,"
yeah,
and you can talk to them about it, and you can maybe it doesn't align with your worldview, but you can kind of have a discussion about it.
mm-hmm,
And these people are very interesting. Whereas if someone just does everything that everyone else does and really hasn't thought about it, and you go, okay, so I guess I already know half the things about you from without having spoken to you. It's just you're gonna be listening to this, and you're gonna like that. Let me guess, movies, traveling, basketball. Oh yeah,
it's funny you mentioned traveling as well. Like traveling is such a cliche interest. I'm just traveling, just
yeah,
finding myself. How are you finding
yeah.
yourself, right?
Staying in resorts and then sitting next to the pool. And who cares where you do that? Really,
Yeah,
you can do it in a local spa, or you can do it in Bali, or Philippines or Mexico. If you're doing that, can't really say, oh, I'm well traveled. I've been to many a hotel lounge.
it's that. I guess it's that question of like you want to ask someone, what did they learn when they did that? In any experience, what did you learn when you traveled? Or not just why are you traveling? That's too easy a question because they say to
Yeah,
find myself or to understand culture. But like, okay, precisely what did you understand about yourself in that culture? That would be more interesting. And yeah, that's when you meet someone who's like not what how do you put it like some you say you kind of know 10 things about that person already, and it's sad
yeah,
because you get this kind of what's the word homogenous kind of culture, the homogenous youth. So like you were saying about young people, I kind of think the same. Makes me sound old, but I don't mind. It's like young people are just they're all the same, they're homogenous and no one's kind of found themselves to break away into individuality yet.
but yeah, you do get cliques, but also
Yeah.
those are also kind of very, oh look, oh, okay, like Converse, black jeans, so you're into Nirvana, Alice in Chains, let me guess, Metallica, right? Okay. Oh, you play basketball, so you'll be playing basketball, you like, beer with your friends, and then you like this music, and you kind of can guess. 'Cause I even had this maybe the bands change, or but I remember I came into a new job. There was a a new colleague coming in, and she came in and she kind of tried to dress professionally as in like an office environment, but she had some kind of a badge or on her backpack or something with some kind of informal bands and those underground bands, and I can just sit there and say, okay, I know exactly what you were like in high school, and I can tell. And you go onto her Facebook page because then they start inviting you to
Yeah.
connect, and you go to liked artists. You can just yep, Arctic Monkeys, yeah, yeah, Nirvana, yep, and it's just like, yeah, I know what you are. But that's the thing. I think when you're that age, what can you really do? You can't really be an individual, and then because you don't know anything yet. Like, you haven't lived anything. You haven't failed enough.
You have to you have to fail at something, right? You have to then like pick the thing that you think is the thing you want the most, and then realize that it's not.
One thing I think these people that I talked about academics that are good at everything and then just they keep going, they kind of lack that that they've always been doing what they know and they've been good at it and they never failed. And I think
Uh,
there's a marvelous quote by Thoreau that is in that book that you recommended that I love, but I always mess it up. But it goes something like, "Who can well remember their ignorance that their growth requires? He who has to so often use his knowledge."
yeah.
It's something like that. So basically, yeah, if you keep doing the same thing, and I probably butchered it tragically, but yeah, if you just keep using your knowledge and just keep doing the same thing, and you will not. If you haven't failed a bunch, I think yeah, that's not that it's some virtue to fail. I think, but it's a sign that you tried something challenging and you tried something different, and you went out of your comfort zone to
Hmm.
to attempt it.
Yeah, you have to.
And I think that's where growth lies, isn't it? It's by trying something new and seeing what fits, what sticks, what doesn't.
Yeah.
That's how you really find your, as I said, your maybe passions and your principles, and you try something else, and if you just feel that it just not you, you just quit, you fail, and then you
Also,
come back to what worked.
it makes you kind of harder as a person who can embrace failure in the future. Like failure, see, obviously is quite scary when you're young, and the first time it happens, it super hits you really hard. But then as you start
Yeah,
to get older and you realize that that failure is defining you, it's not like I welcome failure now, but I knew that if I landed, if I was following a path that I got thrown off of, perhaps like saying getting fired or something, I wouldn't, first you check your principles. Where was I? Why, not, might not even ask why I got fired. You just go, where's my principles? Where do I want to be? What's this teaching me? Instead of like, I don't know, wasting time being emotional about it, maybe. Yeah, you become kind of
yeah,
hardened to it.
and also for me, especially when I was fired from that job, it was terrible. At that point, I was really depressed and just a lot of self-loathing and just oh, I'm too stupid to do this. What if
Um,
they're right and I can't. Should do something else. But I've already spent so much time trying to do this. And now, I started my new job recently where I might get sacked, and because you never know, and it's not a big deal. I've already been sacked, so and I went out okay. I managed
yeah.
somehow. You see that it's not such a big deal. Like, the world didn't stop. You didn't become a drunk, a homeless drunk. You didn't. Nothing really happened. That you went to another job and they kind of really liked you, and then everything went well and everyone appreciated you, and just wrong place, wrong time, just wrong crowd, wrong first impression, just
Yeah.
happens,
It
and you
happens.
kind of start to embrace that chaos of life a bit, that you
Mm,
realize. So I think if you do these things where uh, you go through school, school, you have to study well, and then you go to uni, you study well, you know, because you have to, and you go to do your job and you study well, and you know, God forbid something happens and you get laid off because of economy collapses or something, COVID,
Hmm.
and then that's kind of hard to understand because you've done everything right, and it still happened to you,
Hmm.
and you can't really fathom it. You start you know, going through your what you've done and just why did it happen. Now for me it's just, yeah, things happen.
Mm.
You can do everything right and things happen. People might not like you in your new job and they can just say, yeah, you're not bonding with the team, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
You can, you know, invest in some traveling, like start a new traveling company, everything's going well, COVID hits, bam.
Yeah.
Not your fault,
Yeah.
not anything you done, but it happens. So now, yeah, I've seen that, you know, I had problems, I had, you know, issues in my life, and that I survived them. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty much, you know, if something happens, I won't spend a lot of time just, you know, why, just, yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Because sometimes it just does.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's it touched on like people who drink and whatever. Like when it just reminded me of that thought that when you know when there is a danger in that moment if you're not prepared when you get thrown off your course or your momentum to fall into some kind of self-loathing, and I think
Oh yeah, definitely.
self-destruction, and you know, yeah, it's just then you're just stuck in some terrible cycle. But it's the worst. Like to somehow it's just so essential to find your principle to avoid that situation, to sort of bulletproof yourself from the the inevitable waves that life is going to throw at you. Like COVID's a great example. Yeah, in like travel business or anything, any startup now would be like, you know, in struggle, and it's not your fault, and it's not nothing you did. It's just bad timing, and you just gotta, you know, that you're following your principle, and know that you can. That's all the best you could do is follow your principle, and yeah, it bulletproofs you, hopefully emotionally from that. And even like this idea, like you're saying, oh, my colleagues don't like me. Well, you know, you can sit there and go, oh, well, you just check in on yourself. How was I behaving? You know, I was behaving civilly, fine, everything. Oh, well, I like myself. It's a shame they don't like me. I just take myself that I like someone else.
Yeah, for me it was people didn't like me because I dressed too nice, because I was, yeah, I was not in the sense that I was, well, but you know, I had a jacket on, a shirt on, and people were kind of, you know, was like, why are you? We're all wearing t-shirts, and on second hand, you know, it's my kind of fault as well, because you know, when in Rome, you probably should do as the Romans, but
No, but it's your principle, right? This
yeah,
is how you are. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, I got sacked, and you know, it was that first you just go, oh, you know, wow, maybe I'm really that bad. Maybe I'll never be that. And but then you think, whatever, I'll try again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, once you go and you try and try and try, and you eventually succeed, and then you see that, you know, everything can be learned, everything can be overcome.
Hmm.
Maybe you'll not be the best. I'll probably never be the best programmer that ever lived, never be the best engineer that ever lived, but I'll be all right.
I have this theory, as you said that. I bet first of all, we can't pick like the best.
Yeah.
There's, but I bet even a person who was like given accolades and awards and high, they probably had self-doubt and they didn't think that they were the best. And so this,
Yeah, exactly.
and you hear
Because
this, like I love watching interviews with musicians, and as you know, my music is my session, so I always want to find about the musician, the artist, and what their lifestyle is like. And so I love the internet these days in the way that you can watch interviews and get to know the character of these people that you might just passively idolize. Like when I was a child, for example, you couldn't know much about James Hetfield, for example. But now you can listen to because you might get like just an interview with him in a magazine. It's tailored, it's crafted, it's edited. But now you can listen to like countless interviews on YouTube. You can watch a podcast with him, get to know someone's character. You sort of get to see the human side of everybody. And people who are in positions like Hetfield, for example, biggest band in the planet, you know, all the self doubt and self criticism that this human has. It doesn't matter what position you're in, that everybody is on the same level, and there's no such thing as being the best in anything, and everything's level. It's all subjective.
And also, I think I don't know, for me, it was there's also this kind of revelation that it just really, who's on top really goes into like a lot of luck is involved.
Yeah.
And also kind of the achievements of others that you think, you kind of look at them as like demigods of like, wow. And they're not that, a lot of it's not that unachievable. It's just a lot of mental blocks that you have yourself. Because for instance, I was thinking about this when I was visiting Oxford with my friend, and growing up in Lithuania, you don't know anyone who went to Oxford. You don't even know if anyone in your country has been to Oxford, university. So to you, Oxford University is just this mythical place where it's just geniuses walking around, and it's just it's Hogwarts-esque. You have to be a wizard to get in there. You have to be given a handcrafted invitation, like, you're smart, you're the smartest person on this world, come. And then I was thinking, because I know people who studied with me in the same uni and then went on to Cambridge and became master's students there and PhDs. And then afterwards, you work with certain people, and your colleague is someone who went to MIT. You think, wow, he's human. Like, like, I know this person. Like, he's not some demigod from the myths that came down from Brainiac Island and just yeah, I know him. He just got, he did some certain things right, and then he went to Oxford or he went to MIT.
Yeah.
And you do kind of think that block, if I had thought about it as an achievable thing to go to, say, Oxford, how different would have my actions been? Maybe I would have tried a bit more, because I didn't know, like, going into uni, that was even an option. Me in Oxford was just such a weird thought, like me just riding a jet plane. It's just, what? But then you see those people who are your peers, and you just go, whoa, wait a minute, I could have done that.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, that once you have that kind of demystification of your idols, and you just see, that he's just like Hetfield, some dude who played some rock, metal, and people liked it, and someone saw him and just said, yeah, let's make a record, and then it blew up. But he's not some demigod. He's talented, but it could be pretty much, a lot of people are talented. A lot of people could be in this position.
That's how they seem to see themselves as well. When you dive into enough interviews with famous people, they're like, they just see themselves as someone. I'm just an actor. I just love acting. It's not like I'm Ryan Gosling. Oh God, look at me. I'm Ryan Gosling. Fucking hell. No, I'm just a guy, and people recognize me now. It's Hetfield again, like, good example. It's just, I think, obviously at some point in the arc of those careers, sometimes ego inflates, and then you see that in a long career, like the Metallica career. You see the point where ego was obviously driving the band, but then with age has come that humility, and then they realize how lucky they were, and people talk about how lucky they are, and they always say this: I'm just lucky, just had the right break, was around at the right time, not special.
And also that idea that you can do it, because that's the thing. I think, having had that experience with people from those universities, and they're definitely smart people, definitely capable people, but you just think, I know a lot of smart people who didn't go there, and I think everyone could have actually, with proper guidance, everyone could have done it. It's just they did it better, and then they either had some guidance, or they had foresights, and then wisdom to pursue that part. And I think, but that's the thing, you have to realize that it's not some mythical place
Have you ever caught
in
yourself in
that.
this moment where you're doing something that maybe 5 years ago you thought was impossible, or you see yourself like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm doing this thing that I didn't know I could even do?
I think what was it? I think when I was in Basel in Switzerland attending a conference, like a coding conference. And like I had just started programming, I think 2 years prior, and I didn't know a lot of things. Like I was looking at code, and it's like, what is these things? And now someone's paying. Not only they're paying for my trip, but they're treating it as a work thing where they pay me to be there.
Mm.
And you're thinking, wow, okay, this has actually happened. I made it in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid for the things I've been grinding
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
after work, and no one was cared if I'm good at.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just wow.
That's what we were
Yeah,
saying earlier. Like you if you put your time into that passion enough, eventually you're playing Wembley. You don't realize the journey it happened. But yeah,
yeah,
because just consistency, just constantly showing up on that thing, and it
and I
just
think
actualizes.
yeah. One more thing is maybe also kind of in the theme of what we spoke of it, that, and what I've mentioned, that at some point you don't really, you stop being that promising young man, and someone kind of, and another promising young man come, and nobody really cares about you anymore.
Mm.
It's you treat it like, I think at like 25 that happens. And at least for me, I felt that people stopped thinking and viewing me as some kind of potential
Yeah.
something, and more like okay, you should probably now start doing things. Yeah, yeah, training wheels off, let's go. And that, if you don't have that passion, and if you don't have that drive to just add another one, because before you had those kind of, okay, you need to finish your homework to get study for this exam. No one's grading you on your passion
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it, you're gonna stand where you are. In my case, I'll be a reporting specialist and customer support, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to find some motivation to just keep going.
Yeah.
And there were really days that I really hated it. Like I was tired. I could barely see. I slept 4 hours that day, and I came back from work. I don't want to do anything. I want
Yeah.
to play video games. I want to watch a movie. But you don't. You open up your code and you just go and you read some, at least a page,
Yeah.
because
That's kind of the discipline you need as well. I at some point in this conversation, Anthony Bourdain skipped into my head a couple of times. I don't know if you know Anthony Bourdain, his work.
yeah,
So he was a chef, but obviously
mm,
he gained a huge career change really late in life. The interesting thing I like about his story is that he wrote his very famous book, sold so well, Kitchen Confidential, in the morning before he did his double shifts as a restaurant chef. And having lived in the chef world, I always kind of remember, a lot of chefs read that book, remember that story, like what it's like. You showed up to the typewriter or computer every single morning with a cup of coffee and a cigarette and wrote some words for God knows how many years, just because he had them in him and he had to get it out. So he was doing that every day, a little bit every day. Eventually he had a book, and the book got him completely into a career that, or specialized into a place that his skills and his personality could just bloom. And again, like another writer, J.K. Rowling, reminds me of that. She sort of just chipped away at this first book. In poverty. I think she's quite poor when she wrote that, but just a little bit every day. She probably didn't feel like doing it every day.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I think that's what really has kind of, when you become this a member of society, when you're no longer, nobody really pushes you anywhere, you have to kind of fend for yourself when you're in this wilderness. You have to kind of have those, I think, principles to kind of anchor you, so
Yeah.
you don't stray too far away, and but be some passion to make it, like, to choose a direction and just paddle towards that.
Yeah. Love yourself enough to pick up the paddle.
Yeah,
Mm. Mm. I
because
question springs to mind is like, sorry, what are you going to say?
no, no, nothing.
Uh, question springs to mind. I want to ask, what is your earliest memory of what you wanted to do as when you're a child and someone says, "What do you want to do when you grow up?"
Archaeologist.
Was it okay?
Yes. As I grew up on National Geographic, Egypt, dinosaurs and Egypt, ancient Egypt, I loved that thing. Yeah, I really wanted to be an Egyptologist, to find pharaohs. Love it. That
It,
was my first.
that's fascinating. I wonder if there's anything in that process of being an archaeologist and thinking of about it that still relates to what you do now, because that question of when you ask kids what they want to do, it's so broad usually their answer, but I have a theory that within that answer there's some real truth somewhere. Something about that process of that job is instinctive what you want to do, but you just don't have a
Yeah,
context to say exactly I want to be data analyst. It's you don't know that when you're 5 years old.
cloud engineer. It's just, how do you know what cloud is, Timmy? What have you been reading?
you, you just say policeman. uh
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I think there is something in that that is applicable to my job and my kind of hobbies
Yeah.
as well, because it's a lot of y- attention to detail and very kind of, you have to, at some points, yeah, you build a big part, but then there are very small moving parts and they're very crucial to
Hmm.
get them right. If you
Hmm.
put comma where you shouldn't have put comma, everything breaks.
Right.
If you don't think about something down the line, it breaks.
Yeah.
So, you're sitting there and you're writing something in your code, and you can be doing that for 6 hours in a row to just do one little change. And you can think about it as kind of sitting there in the desert with a brush
Hmm.
and trying to brush off some sand of an ancient artifact.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, it's kind of a stretch, but I think that which kind of drove me into this field, and what I like is, I like complicated things, I like big complicated things. I like not knowing. I like knowing that there's something to learn tomorrow,
Mm.
and then that there will be something to learn. And I like getting into the thick of it and just working on it for a very long time and making it as good as possible.
Mm.
That is what I love. And yeah, and when I create something, that's obviously, you never write anything that you're really satisfied with. It's your work's never done, it's always
Yeah.
abandoned. But I don't know, I draw inspiration from like Zippo lighters. Zippo lighters I love because they have this lifetime guarantee.
Uh-huh.
If something happens, if it doesn't work, they will send you another one, and
Uh-huh.
they are that confident that they make good things, and that is what I want to make. I want to
Uh-huh.
make a thing that's so good that I can, bet my anything you like. This is gonna work,
Ah.
and this is just gonna work as intended, and I can
Uh-huh.
guarantee it. And yeah, and I like those products that say, we're the best in the world. We
Mm-hmm.
don't care if anything has more features. We don't care but at this thing, we're
Mm-hmm.
the best,
Yeah.
and we can guarantee that this is the best we can get. And that for me is just, yeah, that is what I want to, what I aspire to be.
Super.
Yeah,
Yeah, specializing. You're the best version of yourself that you
yeah,
can possibly be. Yeah, and to keep noticing if you're not being that version, if you're constantly trying to reach for your highest possible potential. Yeah, it sounds like you're
yeah.
on the right track towards that. Uh,
Hopefully. But I think it's you're never gonna be as good as you can be. You're never. I don't think it's. I think the day you say, "Yeah, I'm good," That's it. I've grown enough. That means you haven't.
Uh-huh.
I think that's, all. I mean, as much as I kind of like certain things about myself, the things, as I said, I can sleep very well at night. I don't really feel ashamed of anything. You still have those small things, and maybe I should have kind of helped my friend a bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have helped that old lady, on the street today. You're still examining your actions, you're still adjusting everything, and even
Mm.
those principles that you have to review them
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, adjust them and to incorporate new experiences, new information, because that's
Yes.
how you grow. Nothing should be set in stone.
Yeah. There's no way to
Yeah,
get
but
to a better version of self if you're not questioning your current self. Yeah. And there's always, yeah, as you say, a million things you can do
yeah,
uh, better. But yeah, to living closely to your principle and putting your best towards it. In there's that idea. Another thing I want to ask you reminds me of the question: do you think, in general, uh,
mhm.
everyone is doing the best that they possibly can do?
No,
No.
no. I think there is this kind of pit of being comfortable in a position
Uh huh.
where at some point you realize that, hey, I'm not kind of, and nothing bad happens if I don't do my job. Nothing
Yeah.
bad happens if I do something wrong. Nothing bad happens. And if you don't really care, you didn't care about your job in the first place, you just kind of surf, you're there, just you get paid. And I've met these people, and I think I've been this person a bit myself even.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where you kind of realize that, okay, I'm probably not in the spot where I should be. I should, look for another job, look for something else, because
Yeah.
I'm just collecting paychecks here, and I'm just not really contributing. But it works for some people. Some people enjoy it because you don't really have to work, and not saying that they're bad people per se, but
Yeah.
it's just that the value of, as I said, for me, being a professional, being a contributor is very important.
Mm.
And for others, they maybe, look at that job as just a means to an end. And if I don't, if they don't care about it and nobody cares because they don't get punished, they don't get penalized, why should I do anything more?
Yeah.
I might just, yeah, browse, music videos online, just getting inspiration instead of working, because nothing's going to happen. And the modern office environment is a place, a lot in the big companies. There's a lot of room for that. It's very hard to see an individual's contribution to such a big machine that you
Yeah.
don't really get unless you really mess up. You don't really get noticed, and yeah, people people sit there and then they just kind of phone it in, and they just do the bare minimum.
You're saying about people taking like shortcuts, industry stereotype, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a tricky question, that one. It's like I swing both ways on it. I like to think that people are doing the best they can in the circumstances that they are in, but then, like we've been saying, at some point, in the thread of our conversation, there's some kind of question of sort of taking ownership, taking responsibility for your actualization. And yes, I do believe that not everybody takes that responsibility, and yes, they can drift and not do their best, not be professional, not self-actualize to their highest potential. But yeah, and they said, but like they're selling themselves short. And you could say, well, that's because YouTube's super tempting, it's because Pepsi's delicious, or but at some point, yeah, I swing by saying, well, it's Pepsi's fault they're getting fat, or it's their psychological state because of their upbringing that made them not work hard enough or something, or they're slacking off because they're anxious, or but I don't know. So part of me thinks, well, everyone's doing the best they can because of the circumstances that they're in, but unfortunately there are so many people who have got the potential to do better, just and have circumstances that they have the power to change. So and there's so many people like that seem to just, and yes, I've been in that place myself. I've been that person who's, and I still am in many ways, I can do better at many things, but I don't do that thing sometimes, and it's my own fault. I have to take ownership and say, people have to take ownership and say, yeah, it is only my fault if I'm not doing the best I can, and yeah.
That's the thing. I think, and you touched on one big thing. I think is responsibility and ownership.
Mm.
You have to, as kind of expiration date on things you can blame for things that happen to you.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you just if you listen to some people and just it's never their fault. Something's out to get them.
Yeah.
It's somehow everywhere they go. Like, I mean, seriously, you haven't been one place where people liked you, and I think because admitting it's very hard. Just saying I screwed up. I'm not good. I'm not good at this. I'm not as good as I've done. Like, ask people if you're a bad person. Like, how many will say, "Yeah, I'm a bad person." I'm not. I don't say that there are a lot of bad people, but there are definitely some bad people who don't think they're bad people.
Yeah.
And there's always this. I think in that kind of example that I've spoken about, these people in the work, it's always something external that they don't really. You could always do better, and yeah, and I see every time I do something, and you can kind of know you can have done something better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I was lazy that day, or and you kind of feel that you feel that kind of shame, and then it's like that kind of guilt towards that, because you have you have agency. You take that responsibility on yourself, that it's my job to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other people just think, they hired me, they told me to do something, I did what I thought it was good, and if it didn't work, it's someone else's problem. Or this boss is telling me, it's not being nice to me, or this teacher didn't teach me that. But yeah, that's the thing. People won't teach you that. People, there will be external forces that will hinder your progress, but that now it's on you. It's on you to fix that. It's no longer, if you know that you don't know something, that is your responsibility to go and find out. But not why didn't they teach me? Like, that you don't know this, then why don't you go? I mean, maybe it would have worked 50 years ago, but now we have the internet. Just go read stuff.
You know this food is unhealthy. You know what exercise regime would make you fitter. You know the relationships in your life that aren't healthy, and well, maybe that's a more difficult one to find. But with like exactly, if like being taught something, if you know you're missing something and you ignore it, then you're not taking responsibility. You're not using discipline of any kind, and you're not taking self authorship. But there are circumstances, of course, where people, say if you have some psychological issue, those things are quite insidious, or they hide they change your actions and you don't notice it's happening. But but there are many people who aren't in that situation, who are just ignoring the things that are making them unhealthy, and that's a strange state that people put themselves in, myself included. Like, I still have a couple of vices that I repeat. Like, I bite my nails still, and that's such a strange thing to do, because I can see I'm doing it. I can see it's damaging me, and I know it goes against my principle and ruins my self-esteem eventually, because it goes against my principle, but I do it. So, but still some part of my mind hasn't tackled that thing enough. So on that example alone, I know it's very difficult to get to your best self sometimes, or to do your very best. But I do know it's my responsibility.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. But it's like with me, and I smoke still.
Uh-huh.
I know
That's
it's
why you
bad.
like Zippos, huh?
Yeah. No, I don't smoke real cigarettes anymore, but still, I know it's bad.
Mm.
I know we all know that eating a lot of meat's not good for
Hmm.
you, and exercise is beneficial. And yeah, it's hard to start because me in my infinite love of science and everything scientific, and I really, you know all the studies I've read, plenty studies, and that exercise helps. I wasn't like, it helps your mood, helps sleeping,
Hmm.
and I keep, I'm sleeping poorly. Did you exercise? No. and and actually my friend caught me with this. He says, okay, like, you say you like science and these are the articles, now give me an excuse why you're not doing it. So I started jogging. I couldn't. Yeah, I was beat at my own game. But obviously, you have to have that someone who cares enough to show
Yeah.
you their thing. But it, as I understand what you're saying, it's really hard because even if you know it's bad, like, this thing, it's still like something has to. There's something has to kind of click in your mind. There has to be some catalyst that just changes that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of things in I think in therapy, when I used to go when I was depressed, you're aware that you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware that what you're doing is not really good. You're kind of even aware of the reasons why this is happening, and you're aware that the bad thoughts are not helping and they're probably not rational. And you're very aware of everything, but you just can't do it. Like,
Yeah. It's in.
it's like, yeah, it's like that thing, where, oh, cheer up. I know I'm not, like, I know this is bad, this is thing, and
Yeah.
but I can't really change it.
Yeah.
Even if you comprehend, if you read the science, you've been told by a professional, you even then you're just sitting there. Nah,
So wait,
I'm
wait.
worth.
What gets you? What gets you out of that state then? What gets you out of? So you're objectively aware that this state is not healthy, and so obviously therapy can help to reaffirm that actualization. But how do you get out of a place of depression? Because I felt a bit of that for the first time in lockdown last April, almost a year ago. I got to a place where, I don't know if I never got diagnosed as depression, but I felt like, oh, this mindset is really uh, not serving me well. This, I could feel like it was a low mindset, and that what you're saying speaks to me exactly. Like, I had this objective thinking, like, oh, I can see that this mind is not healthy. I can even imagine what I would need to do to get out of this state, but for some reason I don't want to, or I can't. And so how do you get out of that state?
It was pretty hard. Uh, I don't know. I think some of the like character traits that I have sort of helped me out in that regard, in terms of my kind of pride.
Right.
Because a I somehow, even at my lowest, I would still do things to improve myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if I knew there's really no point. There were points where I'm studying something and I don't understand it, and I get into this mode of thinking that, okay, I'm just stupid. I will never understand this. I will never be any sort of engineer or programmer. I'll just meeting do customer support job, something very simple that I don't want to do, but I can't, and I'm too stupid. Well, I don't know, something inside that, there was a little voice that just kept, doesn't matter. You have to go to work,
Hmm.
and I think uh, that helped out. and I don't know how it happened, but I think just that, mm, and once you start working, even little by little, eventually there's something just breaks through,
Yeah.
and you can see that, okay, this is okay. This something happens, and I think that helped me, because what I find that what helps me when I'm used to get depressed is start working on something.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be a code. I can go like paint a mini, or do some crossword puzzle, or just something to do.
Mm.
Because once you see a result, even
Hmm.
if it's very slow, even if it's just a few uh, panels per day that you kind of read a book or something, but once you get that feeling of finishing something,
Hmm.
some work, and you go, oh wow, this felt nice.
Mm.
And yeah, you just can't really be passive. And I think that's what helped me, like my just working, doing something, and just. But I do understand that those I had also those kind of weeks where I just did not want to do anything. But on the other hand, as I've been kind of in my youth, I've been sent to my grandparents to help them on the farm every summer. Then came summer jobs, so working came. I've always worked something.
Hmm.
So even in that time where it just didn't feel natural not doing anything. So I think that helped, but I'm not sure how to do it without. And also, there's this. I remember there's this one song that on one of my uh, more joyful periods I remembered, I listened to, and I saved it and I listened to it every day,
Great.
because it only has a few words in it, but those words were very kind of they were very powerful to me, and they're very simple and crude, but it was basically something along the lines of uh, I knew I had to rise above it all or
Hmm.
drown in my own shit.
Hmm.
And you just sit there and you're going, yeah, I need to do something.
Mm.
I have to.
You know you have to
Even
rise it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a really valuable explanation and quite well said. It reminds me of my own process as well. And it's something about a momentum. And then and that's what did you say? You had this personality trait where you tried to do some how do you put it? Not respect for
kind of
yourself.
just pride. Just I
Pride.
cannot
Yeah.
use this. Like I cannot for me,
Yeah.
because you were always expected to work, and in the farm or
Mm.
somewhere else to be contributor, and you felt like you're not contributing. And for me, it was kind of, I'm not useless. It's I can do at least something.
Something. Yeah. Yeah, to create something outside of yourself. And like I remember like I was in that shitty state and I would still take a cold shower every morning just out of some kind of pride, just like I'm gonna do something. And yeah, music's a good idea. I never thought of doing that, but having a song that puts you back in it, you're definitely in a nicer state when you usually listen to that song. That's a good one. Because I was in that state where I've just what's the opposite of creating something? I was just in a passivity, so I would watch and I'd
Mhm.
consume. And at some point, yeah, so while I'm consuming, I'm my that respect for myself is watching me consume. And it's like the time you spent consuming, and maybe it's a whole day, maybe it's 2 days, could have been spent doing anything else. Yeah, like you say, painting a miniature or reading. You could have made some, I call it progress in my head for want of a better word, some actualization outside of yourself, some learning inside of yourself, some movement. But when I was just passively consuming, it was so unhealthy because it was completely stopped. And yeah, I just needed some momentum. And
Yeah,
as you say, working's great. Just and then it somehow it builds that, and then you start to create more and more, and then your train is running again.
yeah, and I think I don't know. I think depression takes many forms, but for me, it was just I wasn't sad.
Mm.
It was just a constant state of why bother? Because I don't want to get off. You know, get
Yeah.
out of the get out of the bed. I don't want to do. I don't want to study. I don't want to read. I don't want to. Just, what's the point of
What's the
everything? And
point?
once
Yeah.
you start, yeah, what's the point? And and I think it's kind of a lack of agency in that sense, and you feel powerless. And once you do anything, as you said, that even taking a cold shower and just kind of acting upon yourself, and then you
Hmm.
can feel the change that okay, I did this,
Yeah. I did
and
this.
I okay, I did this, and so it means I have somehow I can influence things, and what I do changes the world around me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's how, if I read this book, I'll finish it. If I paint this mini, I'll finish it. And if I do this, something's gonna happen and change in the world. And that's
Mm.
when you kind of get to, oh, that is why bother. Because if you do things, change, and then you can change
Yeah.
them to the way you want them to be.
I,
And yeah, and that helped me out
I
a
also found
lot.
like curiosity helped me. So I'm so used to creating things. Part of the the reason I got into that state, I think, is because I ran out of the ability to create things, and I'd always relied on, yeah, creating, putting something outside of myself to feel better. And I got to a point where shit, I can't create anymore. I had nothing left that I wanted to do. But then, so I was in that low state, and then I started getting curious about trees. And so I was in lockdown. There's nothing to do but walk. So I decided I had a, I think this book was on the shelf, little tiny book, learn about trees, right? Each page, different tree. So I went out to the park and I started finding every tree, and I started just getting curious. And so I didn't, so, but of course, in that curiosity, I'm learning, so I'm taking something in. And so it's, yeah, you start filling yourself up as well. And there's a reason to then, it's just kind of a momentum again. It's not like yeah, I'm creating knowledge in myself, I guess. So
Yeah,
without
yeah,
externalizing, it was still helpful just to, yeah,
yeah.
move.
That's I think that's true. I think if you see some tree and you go out and find it, that is, you kind of see the result of your action manifest in front of you, that you can have that connection, that something shifted
Mm.
either in your perception or in the world, and you can say, oh, okay, I did this, so this cause and effect.
I did this. I didn't know this. I found
Yeah,
this. Yeah, yeah. Look at this. And yeah, it's very. It seemed like a very childlike way to recovery. Just letting go of everything, just being curious again. Nice, nice
yeah,
place to be.
yeah. I think, yeah, curiosity definitely helped me as well, because I'm naturally curious about everything. And
Mm.
not everything, but if a person can explain shoes to me in an interesting way, I'll listen to it. I'll have answers, not answers. I'll have questions ready
Uh-huh.
for it. It's,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things interesting in the world, like everything. Like everything can be fascinating, and that also helped me out because I just wanted to know more.
Mm.
I think there's Bertrand Russell was had this quote in one of his books that he would go to when he was young, he would go to a cliff to think about suicide, like
Mm.
jumping off. But he never did because he wanted to learn more about mathematics.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and yeah, it's just, I think, you know, even in those, periods of those like lowest periods of my life where yeah, I was, thinking that, oh, that ground there looks very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And but you kind of go back and you think, yeah, but I won't be able to read all those books I have, and then I still want to know how things are.
Yeah.
I'm not on thinking the things out.
Yeah.
Still too much things to learn, and even if I become a street sweeper, I still have books. Like I can still learn, and I can still do that thing which I enjoy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. So that helped me out not only to come out of it, just that's one more thing, you know, where you know what's important to you, and you understand that it's not a degree that's important to me. It's
Yeah.
it's knowledge. It's wanting to know more, and I don't need a lot for that. I just,
Hmm.
you know, I have an internet connection and I can buy some books. And
Hmm.
that's it. That's, you know, just sit there and read. So for me, kind of that changed a lot when I realized that all the money things, you know, didn't when that important anymore, because I don't care. I'll just buy books. I'll just read stuff. If you know, if all else fails, I always have bad. So
Yeah.
and it's not that bad for me personally. So whatever, you know.
There's so much value in finding that bottom of yourself, just like when everything stops, and yeah, you find what you really truly value and need. And I'm in a way quite grateful for that time. And it's also, I feel like it's, for me, I'm grateful that I experienced it now. Like I'm not sure, I can't say I'll never get back to that place, but at least I know that well, I have some tools to get out of it, maybe, or this memory of that it can change, and it can move on. And yeah, with the right, but sometimes, yes, you might need help in that as well. But yeah, if that respect for yourself, that self-preservation, just that will to to learn more, to create something, to just yeah, to do something, and not even maybe give it a reason. Like there may be no reason to learn about trees. The universe is infinite and might blow up tomorrow, but still, it's like,
Yeah.
in this moment, yeah, it doesn't matter. That's what, again, that kind of time stripped away from me is like, is that there may not be any ultimate purpose to creating a song. Why am I'm not going to do this for anything except myself. And it really brought it back to, I'm just going to do things for the pleasure of them. And because the opposite of doing things is that state. It's just is nothingness. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the books that helped me out was a rereading of The Myth of Sisyphus, like Albert Camus.
Uh-huh.
You have to imagine Sisyphus happy, because I had a lot of ponderings about, you know, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? I learned this, I do this, and why am I doing this? And then you realize
There's no reason.
there's no point in anything really. You know, we're monkeys with shoes that happen to be conscious for some reason. And you know, what's a career? Like, explain a career to an alien. And you know, imagine an alien came in and then
What's a
and
mortgage?
yeah, what's a mortgage? And even that, like the things we revere as society, like a basketball player, right?
Uh-huh.
Try imagine an alien lands there, and you try to explain basketball to him in
Uh-huh.
like terms that, you know, a person who's never understood the sports. So there's these 10 men who chase around a ball and try to put it in a hoop. Like, why would you do that? And why are you being paid so much for that? And where, you know, doctors don't get paid, they save your lives. And you realize how silly everything is, and
Mm-hmm.
just how much we've made up. And you know, in that sense, you can kind of go down that road where, you know, you become, you know, a nihilist and just
Yeah.
nothing matters, fuck it, whatever. But for me, it was like, but I still feel like something mattered to me. So, you know, I will make my own meaning. Like,
Mm.
I will not pay attention to things, and I will really hold other things really dear, where, you know, they're, for everyone else they might seem silly, and why are you doing this? It's just,
Yeah.
don't do that. It's not really beneficial. But for me, I know why I'm doing this, because I cannot do anything else. It's important to me that I do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not because, you know, someone's going to give me money for that, but because I can go back home and just say, yeah, I did the thing that was true to myself. And
Mm. That sounds like a beautiful circle from where we began. It's like, yeah, finding your own ideal and not chasing anyone else's ideals, and yeah, that being on the edge of nihilism, is quite a is actually quite a beautiful place, because if you can just notice the ridiculousness of monkeys with shoes,
Yeah.
then it's so liberating. Then it's not like saying, oh, everything's pointless, the sun's going to burn out. It's like, there is there's beauty in curiosity, and beauty in finding your curiosity, and it detaching yourself from rhyme or reason, and just that's what well that's I work with children now, and just made me think, well, that's kind of what children do. They just live for their curiosity, and to get back to that place as an adult, to shake off all the conditioning, make all the mistakes. You get kind of back to a place you were when you were the most liberated, is when you were just alive and walking through the world with no concept of futility, and you get to a place and everything has reason. Doesn't matter why you're doing it.
Yeah. And also, when you think about it, when you think that nothing really, and if you fail at something, it doesn't really hurt you a lot.
Yeah.
And, and you can also laugh at yourself. I understand that some of my principles are absurd to kind of but I don't know why. I just want to do them. And as you said, also kind of with children, I think, yeah, that's that kind of sense of wonder, and that just doing things with doing just for doing them is very important. But as an adult, you have to also kind of have that ownership in everything else. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the, for me at least, that's like the sign of being an adult is, yeah, you can be silly. You don't need to be frowny suit wearing guy with a good job and a fast car, but
Mhm.
it's how do you take care of what you're supposed to be taking care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to responsibility yourself to be healthy, to I think grow as a person. Then you have to responsibility or relationships, whether it would be friends or family or lovers. And then I think in my one of the biggest kind of changes, I think, in my understanding is over my 20s, is that you have to have responsibility towards your society, your
Mm.
community, and everyone in the world, really. Be taking care of the environment, taking care of other people, taking care of. It doesn't matter that they're not your friends, and
Mhm.
they're not really privy to the same care and responsibility you would owe to your friends and family, but you still have to take care of it, with whether it being paying more taxes or right. I mean, it's a whole different conversation, I suppose, but that is, I think, one of the reasons where you kind of say you've grown up, where you're not only, oh, it's me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's me, and you know, and you start understanding that, yeah, you need to be responsible and for everything.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's no good just running around the world, just following curiosity and just bouncing around and sort of doing what you want and leaving everything in your wake.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to do that with balance and a kind of I don't know, kind of grace when you're an adult. Yes, it's very important to follow your curiosity, but yes, but then you have a greater self-awareness, and actually children don't always have that. Children can be quite selfish, and yes, their curiosity is the most important thing a lot of the time. Doesn't matter if someone else wants to look at the same thing. It's me first, and so that's a survival thing or just human nature. But um, yeah, as an adult, you get the skill at balancing both to follow your curiosity, which is essential, but also making sure that everyone else can follow theirs to the best possible potential as well, and helping everyone get to the place where they can see their own, and yeah, and helping make sure that the earth can survive so that we can all do that. It's quite useful.
yeah. That's why I love mentoring students that
Mhm.
I do now for this college. Because when I was, whenever I say I kind of studied, and there's always people there that help you, even if you don't really want to admit it. If you did bulk of your work yourself, but there's always someone helping there.
Mm.
Be my friends who just encourage me from time to time, or some random person I emailed and gave me some answers. There's always someone helping you, and no one's really doing it alone, I think.
No.
There are people, I think, but most of, I mean, I was in a privileged position where it's a lot of things went right for me, and yeah, and I didn't do it alone. So giving back that is, I think, one of the responsibilities. So if you're knowledgeable, you owe it to people who are not knowledgeable too,
Mm.
because yeah, that's how we progress. Everyone
Hmm.
progresses it just by, if you're you know yeah, if you're knowledgeable, you owe it to the ignorant to help them out. If you're free, you owe it to the not free people to help them out, because that's kind of that's the price to pay of progress. Once you're up there,
But
you
also, it
have to.
probably feels. How does it feel to mentor?
It feels good. It feels great. I think it feels good to recognize those same mistakes that I've made and be there to tell them that,
Yeah.
because nobody told me that, and
Hmm.
I wish they were, and they did. And you go, oh, by the way, don't do this, do that,
Hmm.
better. And yeah, I think it's great. It's,
That's a beautiful thing. Like, that's a great place to get to, and it made me realize that, yeah, get to the place where you can be a mentor says a lot about your personal journey, and all those things we were discussing about, like self-actualization. I'm not sure it's possible to be a mentor without having that, not only just being a specialist in something, a professional, but having that, yeah, having made a few mistakes, like you say, to help through others. Yeah, you have to get to a certain level of progression before you can do that. And I think
yeah,
that's a sign of maturity as well, to be allowed to be a mentor, to have a few mistakes
yeah.
under your belt, to have a specialization, to know yourself. Hmm.
And also, not every expert can be a mentor, and not every expert can be a teacher, because there are people who go, how can you not know this? They've forgotten what it's like to not know things. They think it's so simple, and they don't understand that, okay, maybe this person is just picking it
Right.
up, coming from a 3 years arts degree and not having done a bachelor's in computer science.
Hmm.
Different attitude and different kind of baggage of knowledge that he's bringing to the field, and of course, this person will not know what some laws of mathematics that are required in certain things, or statistics, or some coding best practices, whereas the person with computer science degree might know that. And you have to kind of adjust to the person you're lecturing, and then
Hmm.
and you're giving advice. You can go, judge everyone by the same kind of, give the same feedback to everybody. Because if that's true, why do you even need a person? You just can do give
Yeah.
a test, and that's it.
Yeah.
Where you have to kind of understand what's the best way for that person to learn. And if I say a bad thing to one person, like, you did this wrong, one person, will go, okay, I'll need to fix this, and another person will go, oh, I will just, retreat. So you have to read that as well, like, and it's simple when you've been there. And, you remember what it felt like to
Hmm.
not know, to struggle with a concept, to have not no one there to explain it to you. And yeah, once you feel it, I think you bring a lot of empathy to the process. Whereas, if you just knew all along, you never knew what it's like to be told that you're wrong, and you
Yeah.
don't understand. You have nothing to compare it to, and you go, well, how can you not know this?
The mentor needs empathy. Yeah. Otherwise, you may as well just do a Google search or pick up a
Yeah,
book. But yeah, to be a mentor needs that empathy, and you get that from having made those mistakes. So um, that's a great place to be. Is that, yeah, teacher's not a flawless educated person. It's just a human
yeah,
being helpful for another one, and fallible, and handing over the knowledge of those mistakes. Yeah, it's a great
And I
place
think
to
that,
be at.
yeah, that's a lot of things that people miss about teaching. That it's
Mm,
not everyone just can, recite the book and just go, "Oh, I'm teaching." It's not
yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
a bit more complicated, and you have to be a specific kind of person. You have to have a level of empathy. You have to realize that, everyone has that story about that one bad teacher that didn't teach him that because he didn't understand that I didn't understand, and they write off the entire group of people. But I think most people, most teachers, if you're a decent kid, they will help you out if
Mm.
you approach them. Obviously, you should probably be on the lookout for that if you're a teacher, but I don't think most teachers lack empathy, and I think they do the best they can.
Goes to
And I
show
think,
that though, when
yeah,
you do get that teacher who doesn't give that connection, you remember it for life, and it can affect things for life.
yeah,
And for me, I've got that example: maths teacher, she didn't understand, I didn't understand, and she didn't understand that anyone didn't understand, and that's affected the way I look at maths. You talk about blaming someone else. I did for years. Oh, that teacher should have taught me better, and then I would be better at maths. But yeah, just that feeling of not having empathy for us, it goes a long way. Yeah, but most are doing the best they can. I think I would like to think that, well, the teachers I've met are very empathetic people, and you get into teaching because you have so much empathy.
yeah,
And it's not just because you love the subject, but yes, you love people as well, I think.
yeah. But if you love the subject, you're probably more into research and then higher academics, not pedagogy.
Yeah, I'm at the different end. I'm with kindergarteners, so I'm not I'm not even I'm nowhere near curriculum. I'm in the wild edge of you might not even call it teaching here. It's a strange position to be in, but I'm really loving not teaching curriculum. It's so liberating to just sort of, I don't know if you're teaching, not even teaching life. You're just letting them be alive. It's a very strange edge of teaching over in this kindergarten world. Yeah, but
Right.
it makes me think about being in curriculum. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would want to give that structure, and yeah.
That's my because my role is basically just look at their work and just give them advice on how to do it better. So
Yeah.
also not really teaching curriculum, but I'm just going maybe change this into that, and you can see and give them kind of context, and because in your work when you have this, then this is going to happen and this is going to break, and they go, oh yeah, right,
Hmm.
that makes sense. I hope that they take something from it. I really do. It's obviously can't really be self-evaluating, but I hope they learn something.
There's your empathy. You care about them. Yeah.
Yeah, I do, because that's the thing. Like, a lot of times you go into new places, and a lot of people expect you to know, and it's I know how daunting it is. Uh, this field is a new field, and where you have no experience, no kind of comparison to anything, and just people come in expecting you to know things, and you don't know. But
Mm.
they expect you to know things, but no one tells you those things. It's just annoying. So yeah, I try to kind of put that in what I've learned,
Yeah.
uh, as well as learning myself, just trying to get anything from everyone else's experiences, what I can achieve.
I'm sure you're a great mentor. Yeah. I've no doubt
Well,
about it.
I'd like to think so, but we'll have to maybe we'll have a poll at the end of the year or something. We'll see.
You can't rate. Maybe you can't rate that thing in a poll. It's just in the joy of the student and how they're learning. Yeah, they're through their process. But yeah, nice place to be
Yeah,
in.
yeah. I hope they take something out of it.
Simus, cool man. I don't know. I never, when we have conversations, like I never know when to say adios. But I
Yeah,
I feel like it's been like a beautiful arc of self-discovery, and we just dived in, man. It was like
yeah,
we weren't even like no small talk. Oh, how's COVID for you? it's like let's figure something out. I think it was always like that in the coffee shop.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember you had like you'll want to like the great people to connect with, because you know that whole coffee shop's a bizarre place. You have this open door and any personality can walk in, but some, you know, you'd be one of those people that I'd be like, oh, as soon as comes in, I'm gonna get like this good conversation, you know, this like important thing, and we're gonna try and get some stuff. And that was one of those times where you just wish you could like lock the coffee shop door and like, let's just get philosophical for 2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks. Well, thanks a lot. Because yeah, I try to, but yeah, that time was straight after I've got fired, so that really helped me out as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
always a pleasure to go there to the coffee shop, and yeah, and as I said, once that was gone, it's just nothing's ever the same. Like, you go into a coffee shop now, anywhere, anyone, and just
I miss it as well. It's like the reason we're having this conversation, like I was saying, is because I miss this connection. I miss the connections that place can give. And you know, it hasn't been replaceable. You can't kind of have, I don't know what it is, you know, that was obviously special about that place, that people would come there for conversation. And it wasn't meant to turn into this, but it did. There's something about that space. And I never walk into another coffee shop and talk with the barista. I never did that. I'd like to.
yeah, that's
I never even tried. I don't know why. Can't imagine it happening.
that's what's funny, because I've been to many coffee shops, and you know, you'd think that other places you'd see baristas or people working there talking to someone,
Yeah.
and the only place I saw it was at yours, where you know, you're not even Lithuanian, and just so you know, that's weird a bit, isn't it?
It is a bit weird. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
it happened.
It's one of those nice kind of quirks of life, I suppose.
Yeah. It
But
made
yeah,
me
it
want to
was
open
yeah,
another one, but I think it's also one of a kind moments. But hopefully, like
yeah, that was
this kind of idea was like just to keep these connections alive and these conversations going, really, somehow, because so much value, obviously, like the connection we've got now and the conversation in the way that our minds can complement and spin out to new ideas. And there's a lot of value in that. And to that was not only that is missing now, the coffee shops there, but the community. It was, I don't miss the coffee.
yeah, well, it was good.
It was
But
good. It was good.
yeah, but it wasn't the most
Wasn't the point. Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It was very interesting. Like, it's in a sense that it's very nice to having been a part of that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's just a strange gift.
Yeah.
All right, take care, man.
You too, man.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.